Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am your host Faisal Raza Khan and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, geopolitical landscape of South Asia is changing rapidly and it is because of the Indian hegemonic and nefarious designs. Extremist Hindutva ideology, Delhi's state-sponsored terrorism and undue interference into the internal affairs of the regional countries, particularly when we are talking about Bangladesh, Nepal, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and of course Pakistan as well. India is not only getting isolated within the region, but also seeking partners in international world, particularly the United States, which actually need India for its transactional relations when it comes to the containment of China policy, and it has the repercussions for Pakistan as well. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi just visited United States. It was a working visit, and during that, the Indo-US joint communiqué was issued. Unfortunately, in that communiqué, there was a clear reference about Pakistan and referred to that Pakistan or leveled allegations against Pakistan of cross-border terrorism. It was the Ministry of Foreign Affairs categorized this statement and direct reference to Pakistan as one-sided, it's completely biased, and to us, it's based on malafide intentions. United States particularly ignored the stark contrast to the realities. And what are the realities? Realities are that within India, whether it's Manipur, whether it's Assam, whether it's Nagaland, Mizoram, whether it's Indian Punjab, or what the Sikhs call it, Khalistan, there is a complete human rights violations. And horrible realities are that no one making India accountable of these heinous human rights violations. When it comes to the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, India is involved in ethnic cleansing, genocide, and war crimes. We will try to examine this joint communiqué or the statement issued by United States and India at the Modi's visit. And then the US-driven Indian hegemonic designs in the Indian Ocean, so-called net security provider, because it's the necessity of Washington rather the international world. Along with that, the strategic implications of the proposed military sales, the high-tech equipment which United States wants to sell to India, and the most notable is F-35, the fifth generation fighter jets. Along with that, unmanned combat aerial vehicles and all others. When it comes to the civil nuclear deal between India and United States, it is also an offer from Washington to India. And India has a very unfortunate track record when it comes to the nuclear facilities in India. We will explore the potential concerns and the imbalance which is going to be created regarding the weapons, the defense deal, or the 10 years framework which both countries are in negotiation. Its ramifications for the regional peace and security as well in South Asia and for Pakistan. To talk on this very important aspect of the regional and international relations, we have in our studios Awais bin Wasi. He is the Indian affairs expert. Most welcome to you, Awais bin Wasi. Sir, thank you very much for your presence here.
Welcome.
And along with him, Syed Basim Raza. He is the research associate with Center for Law and Security, CLAS. Most welcome to you. Thank you very much, Basim, for your presence. And online joining us, Dr. Aima Mehdi. She is senior economist from United Kingdom. Most welcome to you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your presence online. My first question to you, Dr. Awais, that you must have gone through the joint communiqué. Do you not think that calling Pakistan to expeditiously bring to justice those responsible for the Mumbai attacks back in 2008, and the Pathankot incident, and call for Pakistani territory to not be used for the cross-border terrorism? Such references are already, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs categorically rejected this notion, as well as called it one-sided, completely biased, and to many experts, it's misleading towards Pakistan particularly, who made immense sacrifices when it's come to the war against terrorism. And it's also contrary to the fact that India is actual state behind the state sponsoring global terrorism and the regional terrorism, particularly when it comes to the US soil even. And it is involved in sabotage, subversion, and extrajudicial assassinations within Pakistan. It involves in genocide and war crimes within illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And India continues to be the safe haven for the perpetrators of these heinous crimes and terrorism. How do you see that? How do you respond to it?
Thank you so much, Faisal Saab, to invite me to discuss on very important issue that has been, risen after this, Modi's visit in Washington. So I think that there should have been some more significant issues which should have been included in communiqué instead of this issue that was, against the democratic norms and democratic practices, that it is just tantamount to the interference of the internal, matters of the other country. And secondly, what I would say is, as far as terrorism is concerned, Pakistan not only is the victim of terrorism, for example, that in 2016, that this APS attack and then continuous, sacrifices rendered by our security forces and common people, they had to face this brunt of war. So this is not a matter of dispute as far as terrorism is concerned. But the two tragic incidents which have been alluded in this communique, one is Pathankot and the other is Mumbai 2008.
We are actually daily we are facing this Indian state-sponsored terrorism and also sacrificing heavily when it comes to our security forces, when the law enforcement agencies, the police, and even the civilians.
Exactly, you are very much right. And with particular reference to this incident of Pathankot, I would just like to quote Director General NIA, National Investigation Agency, and the statement that was issued on June 2nd, 2016, that there is no evidence, I quote, there is no evidence of Pakistan's involvement in Pathankot. So this has in fact vindicated Pakistan's position.
Definitely, it's Indian state agency.
Statement, Indian state agency's Director General statement. And secondly, in Mumbai attack, Pakistan extended full cooperation if there is some, for the investigation, but non-cooperation on the other side, that has been witnessed. Pakistan has been, extending full cooperation to that. So I think that this is just to, keep Pakistan under pressure by issuing that statement that was aimed at. And in addition to that, as you have alluded to in your question about transnational terrorism, which India is doing, and these are not the figment of imaginations. This is not some kind of reflection with Pakistani Foreign Office spokesperson or Pakistani head of the state or the chief executive is making. These are the things, or these are the facts which have been, confirmed by Five Eyes, the joint network of United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. They confirmed not the non-state actors, not in the killing of one Canadian city and the assassination attempt of US citizen, but state is involved. Home Minister Amit Shah is involved, and this has been widely reported in international media, including the Washington Post and the Guardian. So with this thing, instead of condemning or instead of taking a stern view against India, what Trump said, that is, it belies even Trump's claim to maintain peace in the world. And second is that within India, there are a lot of issues of persecution or the rights abuses with regard to Muslim minorities, that is the largest minority in India, and the treatment meted out to them by the Indian authorities. If you take the, bulldozing mosques, widening, the streets, and then bulldozing the houses of Muslims, then the incidents of mob lynching, legislation in which Muslims have been excluded particularly. So if you see all these things. So I think that the statement should have been directed to India instead of Pakistan.
This is unfortunate. This is unfortunate, lady. Saeed Basim, how might be the proposed co-production of the jet engines and the combat aerial vehicles like military drones and possible acquisition of the F-35 stealth fighter just by India, as discussed during the Modi's visit, affect the strategic military balance between India and Pakistan, while what are the available policy options to Pakistan in such a scenario where the US pay no heed to the South Asian countries concerns, including Pakistan, what they are time and again saying about Indian hegemonic and nefarious designs?
So when it comes to Pakistan particularly, in case of defense of Pakistan in front of India, we have it covered with the help of our partners, of course. India's decision to buy the F-35 is not like something that Pakistan can never counter. Pakistan has planned to buy the J-35s, which is also a fifth generation aircraft, from China. We're close to order almost 40 of them. Similarly, Pakistan is in
And we have already stepped in when it comes to
Exactly.
JF-17C Block 3, that is 4.5 generation.
Exactly. So when it comes to Pakistan, how should Pakistan react? It's very simple. We have to revitalize our options, our partners. Now, India was a long-standing potential buyer for Su-57. And when they showed their interest in F-35, they're actually shooing away the Russians. So we, in hand, can capitalize on such opportunities and engage with Russia more cooperatively in terms of the military equipment. Secondly, indigenous development of military capabilities is very fundamental for a state, and Pakistan has mastered that already. As you've said about the JF-17 Block 3, that is a prime example of that. Other than that, we have made very effective UAVs in that case. So when it comes to the repercussions of India buying F-35, I don't think that we have to face any hard time in that case.
Okay, your point well taken. Dr. Wes, what about Indo-US joint statement? Do you not think that it's full of contradictions? The US still consider India is protecting human rights and pluralism, the value of freedom and vibrant democracy. Is it so as the Kashmiris, the Sikhs, what they call Khalistan, the Manipur, the Christians, Tamils, Bengalis, and several others struggling for freedom? A position calling that India is no more a democracy, or they call there is no secularism, it's completely an autocracy under Modi. Hindutva dictatorship, no secularism, and particularly when we're talking about the Hindu Rashtra, where worst violations of the human rights are going on. Genocide, complete genocide in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and to some extent there in Punjab, or what Sikhs calls Khalistan. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Genocide Watch, all of them have lots of facts available. Why? And most of the organizations belongs to United States. What actually halt United States or Washington to not to raise these issues before India?
You know, what I think is that this geopolitical and geo-economic stakes and interest, which I think eclipsed United States vision, which it claimed in its constitution, and that United States president they espoused with reference to the previous president. For example, if we see, you know, the history of US, if we talk about Thomas Jefferson, if we talk about Abraham Lincoln, if we talk about the other proponents who have framed Constitution and Article 1 and freedom of expression and freedom of speech and peaceful coexistence and all these things, you know, Trump's policy, it belies all these claims, you know, when it comes to India. And they're their own. I think that Trump's recent statements perhaps have not taken into consideration their statements given by United States Commission on International Religious Freedom. And this commission has not issued only one report. That commission has issued 4 reports, and the last was in 2020, in which they the commission designated India as a country of particular concern, CPC, you know.
Yes.
And why that designation has been made? Because of the questionable treatment meted out to the minorities, the persecution, right, the way that their rights have been abused. So I think that this is this organization or this commission, this is a bipartisan government body of United States. And second thing, that is the Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, they have also urged European Union to compel India to stop human rights abuses that is taking place, and you have referred in your question. So I think that if we see this international bodies statements and the way that things have been reported internationally, what is happening in India, so these arguments or these statements by Trump, they don't hold water, you know.
You're right, you're right. Basim, what about the US hypocrisy in offering fifth generation F-35 Lightning II fighter jet to India, despite Delhi's extensively using long-range S-400 Russian defense systems? And when Turkey procured, it was the same case. When Turkey procured the S-400 system from Russia, the US imposed military sanctions under CATSA, that is the Countering American Adversaries through Sanctions Act, and cancelled the same F-35A deal with Turkey, halted 6 jets in hangars and never supplied those. So why CATSA not imposed on India?
Okay, so when it comes to Turkey, we need to understand that it is not hypocrisy, it is actually the offensive realist mindset of the foreign policy elite of United States. Now, when it comes to Turkey and when it comes to India, both are not the same case. Turkey is not there to forefront and counter China for United States. India, on the other hand, is. Although we can question the possibility of that.
But you know, Turkey was the trusted partner in the Joint Strike Fighter program of the United States, and having signed on in 2002, that joint fighter program, and invested heavily around $1.6 billion with Turkey plan to acquire at least 100 fighter jets to bolster its air capabilities.
Exactly, so that's how United States operates. And that's exactly how United States treats its friends and partners. Now the new partner, India, is supposed to counter China. I don't think it can, and I don't necessarily believe that it will. The posture towards Turkey is mostly driven by the need for security of the NATO's defense infrastructure, and they think that Turkey poses as hegemonic.
But Turkey is actually the second biggest contributor in NATO. There is no doubt about that.
And they think that Turkey, it poses hegemonic ideals towards Europe. On the other hand, which is not true, but on the other hand, India proclaims itself as the so-called hegemon of the South Asian region. In case of India, Americans, they don't think like that. But in the long run, do I believe that this whole scenario is not going to happen to India? I think it will. We have seen Mr. Trump.
Because we have to think, and Indians must have to think, that it's a transitional relation.
Exactly.
It's not going to be a transactional relation.
Exactly.
It is not going to be the permanent relation, or there is nothing permanent in international
And Mr.
relations,
Trump
no
is
doubt.
known for choking down, business deals down the throats of other states.
Obviously. So, your point well taken. Dr. Aima, would this selling of the US weaponry to India is in a broader context of the containment of China policy, or it's a kind of a business deal to get rid of more than $70 billion to $100 billion of the trade deficit, have more exports to India by selling weapons, and earn more foreign exchange, while at the same time the United States president asking for India, China, Russia, US get along, and when he is stressing upon denuclearization. So how do you see this whole gamble which is going on between United States and India?
Thank you for such a comprehensive question. There are two sides of this question. I'll take the latter part first. So denuclearization that America imposes on others is not necessarily standing for itself, and not for the American friends. So there's a difference in how they see the world should be operating and how they operate with themselves and how they want their friends to operate. So I wouldn't take that very seriously because I think every country is sovereign in its own nature and they're allowed to proceed the way they want. So that's a different topic. And coming towards the sale and purchase, I think it is keeping in mind how Mr. Trump has been dealing with things, his mentality as a business person, and how he has been imposing tariffs, taxes, etc. I think it's a big trade deal. And also, you must have seen that Prime Minister Modi has been able to kind of deflect the tariffs that the US has been imposing on other countries, other trading partners. So they have agreed for a lower tariff for India. I think this is a trade deal which is going to benefit the US in terms of it's a trade imbalance, plus it's beneficial for India because it's going to lead them for a lower trade tariff. So it's more of a business deal than any other thing. And in terms of its relationship with China and hedging against China, I think China is way, way, way ahead of India or even many other countries in the world in the weaponry that it has, defense system, etc. So I don't think it has something to do directly with it. I would consider it to be more of a business trade deal than anything else right now.
So, Dr. Ima, United States has assured India of having maximum support for its membership in the International Energy Agency, IEA. So, how it would impact Pakistan's energy security and even the regional energy trade dynamics and access to the global energy resources, considering India's increased influence in shaping global energy policies in future if India secured its membership in International Energy Agency?
Well, I would just like to add something here that India's membership to IEA is almost the pinnacle where it is a part of IEA. The matter of the fact is to be a member of the IEA, you have to have a few things that you have to fulfill before you become a member, and these points are very transparent. And the countries that are a member of IEA do fulfill all those things. Does Pakistan fulfill those things? That's another question. But seeing India, India does partially or wholly fulfill those points, right? First of all, India does have like 90 days import cover of its energy reserves, oil reserves. India does have a more sophisticated system of how it transfers energy, etc. India does not have a circular debt on its energy. So if India does become a part of IEA, I wouldn't consider it to be completely biased or its friendship with the US. However, if India does become a part of IEA, of course, it's going to bring a huge benefit to India because if you're a part of IEA and if you have issues with your energy, then as a member country, you're given support. You, as a member country, you're also given support in terms of climate effects. You're also given programs on how to reduce energy usage and become more green. It gives you support in a lot of ways, but you need to have that sophisticated system to be a part of IEA. So I do think it's going to bring India benefit in several ways.
So, your point well taken. Dr. Aves, when asked a question regarding Bangladesh issue by an Indian journalist about the United States deep state's involvement in regime change during Biden administration, Trump replied and said there is no role of our deep states, means the United States deep states. It was something PM Modi has been working on it since long, and these are the words of President Trump. He said that he has been worked, or Modi has been worked on since hundreds of years, frankly, and I have been reading on it. I will leave Bangladesh to Mr. Modi. Now, while despite planted questions on Trump, not replied, the Indian raw involvement in terrorism in the United States, especially against the US citizens of, you were talking about the Sikh Khalistani leader Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. So how do you see, on one side, Trump is clearly saying that United States deep state was not involved, and whole of the propaganda in India and on all those media channels and newspapers that United States was involved in regime change in Dhaka. And Trump is saying that it was Modi actually working on it. So how do you see that? And secondly, not responded to that particular question related to the Indian terrorism at the US soil.
You know, this very clearly indicates the dual or the double standard of the United States of America when it comes to India. The position United States administration takes, that is far from the ground reality. India's involvement in Bangladesh is quite evident, and you can see with the deep-rooted anti-India sentiment that is being permeated and that is pervasive in Indian society and current state apparatus also, because there is a quite vociferous demand of the people that there should be a trade boycott between Bangladesh and India. So if you see that, India's involvement
and also India has given refuse to Hasina Wajid, the ex-Prime Minister.
And exactly, and this is not the current case of involvement. History stands witness.
And not sending her back even despite of lots of requests by Dhaka.
Exactly. So, and this is not only restricted to India's involvement or expansionist designs in Bangladesh. If you see the other India's involvement in other South Asian small neighboring countries,
definitely.
so that is also there. For example, we can quote a number of incidents as the recent election campaign that was on the slogan "Out India," Maldives, in Maldives, out
India out, yes,
India out. So later on, the head of the state, he asked India to repatriate 100 Indian soldiers. They were stationed in Maldives. And same, if you see, Indian Foreign Minister recently, talked about the island between Sri Lanka and India, though that was not a matter of dispute. In 1974,
they have actually created that.
Yes, they have created. There was an agreement between India and Sri Lanka. But what, and it's not only the foreign minister, Prime Minister himself in Tamil Nadu talked about this, this island. So same goes with Nepal and Bhutan. Bhutan has been a very close ally of India, and India has always would earmark some amount for Bhutan. But if you see, this development, India's development towards its neighboring countries, so its involvement and its expansionist agenda, that is quite evident. And it, again, I could say that belies whatever is being projected from Washington.
No doubt, no doubt. You're absolutely right on that. Basim, do you not think that Indian desire to become part of the Combined Maritime Task Force, the CMTF, especially in Arabian Sea, and have bigger plans in Western Indian Ocean as well when it comes to Mauritius or all other territories, especially from the Gulf of Oman, the Strait of Hormuz, to Red Sea, in Pakistan South particularly, means something fishy, especially when it comes to when US again termed India as a net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. So how do you see this particular aspect? What are the concerns for Pakistan in Indian Ocean, particularly in South, when India is going to be active in
First of all and foremost, we do not believe that India is the net security provider in the Indian
Definitely, it's calling, it's US calling it.
Exactly, and there's no argument that supports that fact. Okay, so when it comes to Pakistan's, our maritime economic interests, our maritime interests, they are threatened by this, this partnership between US and India. But instead of our interests, there's another state whose interests are at threat, China. When it comes to the BRI, when it comes to the CPEC, Gwadar is the pivotal, I would say pivotal point of CPEC. So if China's interests are
it's not only Gwadar, even Gwadar is the pivotal point.
Exactly.
But on along with that, it's Chittagong, it's Hambantota, it's all other ports which are affiliated.
All the way up till Africa.
Obviously.
So the point here is that when you threaten China, is India in the position to do that? I don't think so. And when we talk about the hegemonic sort of ideals of India to prove their influence in the Indian Ocean region, I do not believe that that's going to happen.
India is actually getting inspiration from Diego Garcia or any other aspect of that, or the pearls of wisdom, whatever what we call
exactly.
in Pakistan, but it was string of pearls in
String of pearls,
Pacific
yeah.
when it comes to China particularly. So India considered itself a false net security provider.
Exactly.
So Dr. Ima, Washington and Delhi launched an Indian Ocean strategic vision. Under that, a multi-billion, multi-year investment in an undersea cable project agreed through a cyber giant. Work begin this year. Uh, it stretched over at least 50,000 kilometers to connect 5 continents and strengthen global digital highways in the Indian Ocean region and others. And India intends to invest in maintenance, repair and financing of the undersea cables. What would be the ultimate implications? Because we have seen during the Cold War era that United States was doing the same and used these cables for spying, for surveillance, and extract the strategic communication, particularly from the Soviet Union. Now it's Russia. So how do you see this aspect of this undersea cables? What are the ramifications for Pakistan?
I think it's one of the other pillars of the hegemonic US policies that are clearly biased towards India. And this is called the Waterworth project, basically launched by US, Meta, and India together, so that there's a lot of information and so on and so forth sharing between India, US, 5 other continents, and countries like Brazil and South Africa. However, there are deep concerns about what you mentioned, the security concerns about how things are shared and how, because these cables go underwater, and there can be a lot of issues in how the water territories and water borders are crossed. And there's an increased security threat, like governments of UK, US, even the European EU Council has made security agencies who are looking after the security concerns, because there's a high threat of data breach, data burglary, data alarms in doing such things. So this is a huge cable. If you look at the infrastructure, it's 5 times the circumference of the planet Earth. It's so huge. So one building it is it's not going to build in 1 year or two. It's going to take decades to build it. Two, it's a huge thing, and I just consider it to be another one of the policies to threaten, pressurize other countries, and to cross the water territories. Like for example, you'd see like the Baltic Sea region, and then when the Ukraine war occurred, the Baltic Sea regions and the things that were underwater, like UK, EU channels and cables, there was so much of an issue about the security threats that were going through it. So, and data and information is the biggest thing in this century. So, I don't think it's a very viable sort of a project, but I think it's more of a pressure enhancing technique, and a pressure enhancing
So
sort of a
Dr.
news
Ayman,
that's
do you not think that regarding undersea cables through the U.S. assistance, India could manipulate internet access, disrupt the web services, digital economy and trade, because most of the economy is now shifting at the digital arena, particularly when we are talking about the e-commerce or anything else, the fintech and all that. Create monopoly in access and bandwidth usage, affect stock market, supply chain, financial institutions, surveillance, data gathering, intercept communications, conduct cyber operations and warfare, and so on. So do you not think it's going to be a huge manipulation and huge concerns for the countries like Pakistan as an emerging market?
Well, it's not just about thinking. If it does happen, then obviously these are the threats that countries are already thinking about. And, countries like China, Russia, Pakistan, and the Gulf countries are already thinking about it, because this will be disruptive. Such technologies are termed as disruptive technologies, and it is as disruptive as it sounds. So if it does materialize, it will bring in huge, huge effects. So this is time for Pakistan to think how it can build their own undersea cables, because to my knowledge, I don't think Pakistan really owns an undersea cable. It just rents and leases and use other technologies. It does not own an independent, safe, security-wise undersea cable that it used to its own benefit. We've seen in at many instances that how our undersea cables get disrupted, and the country's business and trade and the stock market and everything comes to a halt. So this is like a wake up call for Pakistan to enhance and increase its own technology. And if India reaches even until, if it reaches up until European countries on its own through this cable, it will be a huge incentive and a huge benefit for the Indian economy in any sense, in terms of maritime trade, in terms of technology sharing, in terms of energy sharing. Because if you guys know, like, these undersea cables are not just for energy share, are not just for information sharing. There are undersea cables
Right.
through which we can
Very
trade
right.
electricity. So it will be a huge benefit for India in all its sense.
Definitely, you are absolutely right. Dr. Aimal, one last question. That is, if you just combine the US Trump administration's controversial plan to take control of Gaza, expand Israel, and the Indo-US combined plans to advance India, Middle East, European corridor, bringing I2U2 group together, and planning to convene partners meeting within next 6 months to announce new initiatives. Do you not think that it has a broad meaning and equally the catastrophic implications for the Middle Eastern region?
Well, I think I2U2 is quite critical in its spirit, because there's Israel, there's UAE, there's India, and then there's US. So religiously, our there are differences. So we have ground differences in terms of Gaza and its sense, right? So basically, these countries came together to bring in more peace in Western Asian countries, and to bring things like food security, energy security. However, things have become so critical that the plan to include Egypt and Saudi Arabia into this collaboration is being hindered right now. So I do think that this is a very sensitive topic, and I would really like to see how it rolls on in the next few months. But however, I do see how the Gulf nations are trying to invest in Pakistan's agricultural sector, because there's a huge food security problem in the Gulf region because of the weather, desert landscape, etc. So they're trying to invest in Pakistan for their food production. I want to see how that affects. It's still in its initial days, but it's a critical topic, and if it does go forward, there'll be a lot of problems and there'll be criticism around it, because our our aims as different religions, different countries, they don't meet. So I want to see how it unrolls in the few months.
Okay, your point well taken, and thank you very much for being with us. You have to go immediately to any other assignment, so I think so that thank you very much for your presence online, Dr. Aima. Westman Wasi, what Modi wants, what are the ambitions by making India a huge dump of US weapons, the Russian weapons, and all others, when China is having immense firepower, a huge military, and a nuclear weapon state, that China has mostly now the economic ambitions rather than war with any other country. Pakistan is also a nuclear weapon state and completely focused on economic development rather than to be the war with any country. Pakistan don't have any sort of hegemonic designs, no offensive designs against any country. So for what Modi is actually piling up these weapons, advanced cutting edge technologies and all that?
You know, apparently India says that, you know, the wherewithal India is trying to gather to confront China and Pakistan. But if we see the arsenal, including the nuclear and missile and other, you know, latest armed wherewithal that India is possessing, it also says something else. For example, if we see Agni 6, the range of this you know, is 12,000 kilometers. So Pakistan and China, they are not, you know, as far. They are just, you
when
know,
United States eyes completely shut, because these are actually the intercontinental ballistic missiles, and US are always focusing on Pakistan's missile program rather than India.
Exactly. And if you see the other build-up, so we can say, for example, that the report by Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, that India is the top importer of the latest armed weaponry between 2019 and 2023.
Definitely.
And in February 2023, United States approved the sale of 31 MQ-98 arms drone to India at the cost of $4 billion. So if you see, you know, such kind of weaponry, such kind of, you know, weapons that India is getting to muster, so it seems that this is closely linked with India's designs, nefarious designs to perpetuate that transnational terrorism which India is trying to do it.
Your point well taken. Basim, What's cooking between India and the US right now as Quad Leaders Summit to be held in India this year? US President Donald Trump visiting India, Indo-US planning to have tri-services military exercises, maritime patrols to improve interoperability in Indian Ocean, strengthening alliance against China in Pacific Ocean particularly. What would be the ultimate implications for Pakistan in such a scenario?
So historically, India has been saying this over and over, and we've heard Indian leaders reiterating that any strategic partnership with the United States mean a destabilizing factor for the overall region. But now, what are they doing? Secondly, when it comes to Pakistan, Pakistan is the defense posture of Pakistan is about security maximization, not power maximization. We believe in ensuring our own security in face of an external threat, which the biggest threat that we face is India. When it comes to, again, when it comes to the maritime ambitions of India, we're not that much threatened. China is, especially when it comes to the Pacific Ocean. Then when we talk about the Western Indian Ocean, the Western Indian Ocean is a very, very peculiar sort of a case. India needs Iran for that matter, for propagation of its influence and its interest. But Iran is an adversary of United States. And now being cornered, Iran is very close to enriching weapon-grade uranium. So the question arises, is United States going to prefer India over Iran? I don't think so. They'll have to lose that chance in Chabahar and over there, all the way over there in the Indo-Pacific. They don't already have any sort of massive influence that we see.
Your point well taken. Dr. Awais, very brief because we have run short of time. In the context of the US-India Energy Security Partnership, including in oil and gas, both talking about civil nuclear agreement to work together first on the US designs and expertise, joint development, production and deployment of the large scale and the small modular nuclear reactors, technology transfer, and then obviously India might get the fissile material or the waiver, what the Obama administration done in 2008. So how do you see this scenario?
This is very unfortunate that for United States geoeconomics and geopolitical interest, what US is doing is US is ignoring non-proliferation priorities. And if we see the history of this violation of this in the case of India, that the various incidents of radioactive material theft as well as sale that have been reported since 1990. And quite recently, in the last year, in August 2024, the incident of theft of radioactive material that has been reported in international media from Baba Atomic Research Center, and the worth was $100 billion of californium substance. And this is the case against which 5 individuals, they got apprehended. And 3 years back, in 2021, 2021, some incidents, they also got reported about this theft and sale of this uranium and this radioactive material. So, and previously, if you see that in 2008, United States facilitated through Nuclear Supplies Group to give waiver to India without differentiating the energy which is for civilian purpose or for the military purpose.
Definitely.
So I think that if you see, all these violations by India and United States
and complete covering up from
yes,
Washington,
and United States condonation. And giving India this advantage, it might have serious implications not only for the region but for the whole world.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Dr. Awais bin Wasi, for your presence here in the studios. Thank you very much, Basim, for your presence and candid views. And thank you very much, Dr. IMEC, because she spared a very important time of her and schedule from UK. Thank you for that. Viewers, as you have just listened to our panelists, it is important that the global and the transnational terrorism India is sponsoring across the world, and there are lots of evidences available. What Canada said, what United States earlier administration said, what New Zealand, Australia, and all other countries, and even Five Eyes given those evidences. what we are talking about, the human rights, there are complete persecution of minorities in India, human rights violations, abuse, there are bulldozing of the religious sites, including the residential sites of the minorities, particularly the Muslims and Christians there. Then the mob lynching and extremist Hindutva ideology, which is prevailing in India at the Indian soil. There are lots of reports available when it's come to Amnesty International, Genocide Watch, Human Rights Watch. Its US Commission on Religious Freedom issued 4 reports actually and designated India as a country of particular concern, but unfortunately the administrations there in Washington, they are not paying heed on that. Even congressional reports are there. Then Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch actually compelling reports to and pressurized European Union to take action against India for its accountability, including involvement of India in Bangladesh for long years, even its East Pakistan separation from Pakistan, and then complete interference through the former Prime Minister Hasina Wajid. Its intelligence agencies were doing all that in Nepal and Bhutan, Maldives, Sri Lanka. Why United States, its mum on these all nefarious designs and actions what India is actually propagating? Then India is ignoring the non-proliferation regime across the world, particularly when it comes to India. US laws are not stringent when it comes to India. India is developing ICBMs, the intercontinental ballistic missiles. India has to take action against Indian nefarious designs because it is going to be a threat not only for region but for the world. F-35 is going to be the threat for Pakistan. It is going to be a junk fighter which India is going to procure from United States as categorized by Elon Musk, who is right now the part of Trump administration. Although it is going to be a large-scale shopping by India from United States, but integration of these weapons with the systems is also very important, which India lacks right now. And also International Energy Agency, there are lots of repercussions when it comes to Indian future membership, which United States committed to support. Pakistan has to gear up its diplomacy on that. And secondly, the undersea cable. This is going to be a crucial issue for Pakistan when it comes to this plan. So there are lots of things at which Pakistan has to be very vigilant, not only at the state level but also at the diplomatic level. And Pakistan has to just gear up its efforts to contain India, in a sense that region is already against India, but most of the international players must have to realize that peace is very important in South Asia when it comes to development, prosperity, and all that. This is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.